Welcome, everybody. This is the 11 Days of Global Unity, and this is our 15th anniversary for We the World, and I am really excited. This is our first day of the 11 themes. Our theme is unity today. So we're going to be talking with some of the most incredible, beautiful leaders in this beautiful movement of seeing global unity now. And I get to be one of your hosts here for this beautiful summit. I'm Karen Palmer. I'm known as Mindful Media Mom and Miss Kindness on all social media. And my co-host is the founder of We the World. We the World, Mr. Rick Ulfik. And We the World is a global platform to unite and amplify the efforts of people and organizations and movements working for the common good. Rick is the co-creator of the 11 Days of Global Unity, 11 ways to change the world, linking local awareness and action campaigns that are international, movements with participants such as Desmond Tutu, Jane Goodall, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Bill McKibben, and many more. Welcome, Rick. Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful time with us.
Oh, and thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to co-host this first panel of the 11 panels for the 11 Days of Global Unity Telesummit. And let me tell you, folks, about our host, Karen Palmer. She's a mom who made a wish that's sparked a kindness revolution. She is a global kindness leader and educator at globalkindnesstv.org. And she is a live stream and social media expert, a best-selling author, and she co-produces several popular online talk shows. Thank you, Karen. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We encourage you to check out all of our panels of this 11 Days of Global Unity Telesummit and the 11 Campaigns for Change. Together, we think that they form a blueprint for global transformation. Today, we'll be talking about the importance of global unity and making a cultural shift toward we consciousness in society, so the health and well-being of all is valued and prioritized. Why is this crucial now in the United States and in the world, given the multiple challenges humanity is facing? And what actions can people take to make this shift? Today, to discuss this, we're excited to be joined by Tarek, Mounib, Reverend Sylvia Sumpter, Steve Farrell, and Ben Bowler. Let's start with Tarek. Tarek Mounib is the creator and producer of the film Free Trip to Egypt, which is a film about the power of human connection. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Telesummit, Tarek Mounib.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's so great to have you with us on this panel. So, Tarek, we could easily do an entire broadcast on you and your work, which is actually true for everyone on today's panel. I and a bunch of us in New York City were there at a major theater in New York to watch the premiere of your film, Free Trip to Egypt. It opened in 500 theaters around the United States that day in June, which you called Pledge to Listen Day of Unity. And I'm happy that We the World was one of your outreach partners. So Tarek, can you please tell people the idea behind the movie and what has happened since that extraordinary national screening? How does your film address the disunity and political polarization that is so harmful in the United States and elsewhere? And what actions do you recommend people take to address this issue?
Sure. So the idea for the film came back in 2016, towards the end of 2016, when there was a lot of demonization, polarization, and I found I grew up in Canada. I was born in Canada, but I'm living in Switzerland now. And I just found watching the news that I was starting to develop fear of where the world was headed. And I was finding myself starting to feel fear towards Americans, which was really bizarre for me being a Canadian. And then I realized that, I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to just hide and get angry and bitter. So I thought, is there another way? And then that's when the idea came to me. What would happen if I approached the very people that I thought were afraid of me in kindness and offered them something kind? And then that's the idea where came, well, why don't I go across the United States, talk to everyday Americans, and when I find people who are uneasy about the Arab world, offer them a free trip to Egypt. So that was the idea. I didn't know how it was going to unfold, and it was an experiment in humanity, really. And I was very curious as to whether or not the human connection would be more powerful than all the divisiveness that we see. So we went across the United States. We went from Manhattan down to the southern states, like a lot of states. We went to a Trump rally in Louisville, Kentucky. We just approached people. And it was scary in the beginning because we got a lot of hate and people saying, "Are you crazy? I don't want to be beheaded," and things of that sort. So I was a little bit worried in the beginning. But then eventually we managed to find people. At the Trump rally, we brought somebody from Pennsylvania. We brought a very diverse group of people, and we took them to Egypt. And we paired them up with Egyptians. And this was the whole interesting dynamic. Well, what's going to unfold? We took a Christian preacher who wanted to spread the love of Jesus in the Middle East and baptize Muslims. And he brought Miss Kentucky from his congregation. And we paired them up with a very orthodox Muslim family where the man had a beard and the woman covered her face. And so it was just interesting to see what would happen, what would unfold, what would happen with the veteran that we found at the Trump rally when we paired him up with a beautiful Egyptian dancer. So it was really an interesting learning exercise for me. And it actually renewed my faith in humanity, because I think you hear a lot of hate on the internet, you hear a lot of hate and polarity on the news, but when you start talking to people, when I was at the Trump rally, when I was in Manhattan, it's completely different when you speak human to human. And even the people who might be saying a lot of bigoted things, many of them are saying it from a place of fear and concern for their family. So that's what really renewed my faith in humanity. I mean, the bigoted people exist, and we met them, but by far they're few and far in between. So that's what really started the film. That's why we did the film. And then, as you said, this film has been screened across the United States and Canada, and we've had many theatrical screenings after June 12th. And it's just really inspiring to see that regardless of your political belief, regardless of your religious belief, we can come together and we can coexist. And I think the major lesson for me is that we don't need to convert anybody to coexist, right? In the beginning, for example, with the Christian preacher, I was locked heads with him for days. There's pictures of us swimming in the Red Sea and debating, because I was saying, you know what, I value and appreciate your personal religious experience, but is it not possible that others have had also powerful and beautiful religious experiences? And he couldn't really accept that. And that really bothered me. And so I was debating with him for 2-3 days until I finally realized, why do I care so much? If he is not violent, if he is not hateful, why do I need to convert him to my path of tolerance? right? And that was a real eye opener for me. And it made me realize, you know, the whole point is to just respect people with different beliefs. I don't have to agree with them. And we can coexist. And that's the whole point, is that when we thought, okay, if this group of Americans and Egyptians could coexist and they were so diverse, why not the rest of the world? And that's what this film's been about, and it's been bringing communities together, and we've been having conversations, and I'm really inspired what's unfolded.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And have you been able to follow up with folks who got together and with their partners in different countries? Have any further communications happened between folks that met each other for the first time through your film?
Yeah, so there's been different meetings. So the film participants, for example, we've been continually in touch with them, and it's really inspiring to see the friendships that have developed, and the way they see the world, and the way their family members see the world as well. It has a ripple effect. And it's really also inspiring for me is that I'm getting so many mails after people go see the film saying, you know, I walked out of the theater and then I met this person, and I'm Jewish and they were Arab, and we had this amazing conversation, and you know, or I'm a Republican from East Washington and I spoke to this person who was a Democrat, and it's the first time I could actually talk. And so it's been really inspiring to just see people come together and not have to change each other. That was the real inspiration.
Exactly. And so the Pledge to Listen Day of Unity, that went out to a lot of people and a lot of organizations. Have you heard feedback about how that went? I mean, the whole concept is beautiful, that, you know, rather than trying to push your point of view, maybe just relax and let other people talk, because that can help to open up the channels of communication.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of momentum and movement with the Pledge to Listen. It was something that I learned, is that when I hear certain ideas, I tend to react. Until I realized, usually, there are a few exceptions to this, but usually an idea in itself, when it's being presented to you, is not dangerous to you, right? So if you can just simply, you know, breathe and just listen with an inquisitive ear and understand what the person is trying to say without a need of changing, then magic can happen, because the connection can occur. We can really feel there's an understanding. And again, I keep saying this, but what's remarkable is sometimes a connection can occur without changing each other's opinion, but we somehow both feel understood and respected. And I think that's really what many Americans that I've experienced going across America share in common, whether they were Republican or a Trump supporter or left wing or Democrat. It was always, you know what, I'm just tired of not being able to express my views and talk, right? So I think people are just fed up with this demonization on both sides, and people just want an avenue of just feeling respected and being able to express their beliefs and their views without being judged, right? And I think with that attitude, the Pledge to Listen has really taken momentum, and we had the Pledge to Listen Day of Unity on June 12th. People can take the pledge, and we're also even talking about September and October being the Pledge to Listen month, where people can have community screenings, see the film with various communities or in the theater, and have a discussion afterwards. So it's really inspirational to see people just coming together.
Exactly. It always seems to me an eye opener, I guess, for some people, to think that if your life, if you were to go through the same life experience as someone else, then you would probably be doing and saying and feeling exactly the same things that they have. And if more people realize that, then they could begin to kind of validate others who they may not even agree with at this point, right?
I was really touched by the movie because, and I really want to be an ambassador for California to spread this pledge to listen. And I've reached out to you several times about that because I really want to be involved in these community screenings and I have already reached out to several organizations that are interested in that. But you know what I really loved was that you have this PDF of the Pledge to Listen discussion guide. And it is so wonderful. It has so much depth into how to really communicate with each other. And I really encourage people to go to freetriptoegypt.com and get that. You can get that sent to you in your e-box for free. And if you're a teacher or a guide, I am a kindness educator, I would love to see this, brought in. I would love to work with you on this, to bring this to a kindergarten level so that we could bring this to so many of the children who are struggling with this because they come in with so much of the consciousness of unity consciousness, and then they're taught something different. And so this beautiful Pledge to Listen is such an important and really, really crucial piece to unity on our planet. So if anything I can do to help, please let me know.
Will do, definitely. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
and that sort of goes along with my idea of like what can people do, or what actions can people take. And I guess that would be a great action, what you just said, Karen, to go to free trip what is it, freetriptoegypt.com?
Yes, correct.
And then request the PDF for the Pledge to Listen, and then begin to use that in your life. I think that's a great action step.
And they've created a space where people can sign up to actually bring it to their own community. And there's several different ways that you can participate. So I highly recommend everyone who's watching this really just drop into your own heart as you listen to what this beautiful message is, and see what can you do? How can you grow more kindness and unity in your community? That's what we're doing here. Rick has opened this beautiful window for all of us to be able to shine for these 11 days of global unity. So if you have something that you are really inspired by, join we at we.net. Go to we.net and join as a partner, join as an individual, join as a volunteer. There's so many ways. I was just sitting home watching the 11 Days of Global Unity just 3 years ago, hoping and praying and seeing Steve Farrell and watching him and Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra and seeing Rick. And I can't even still believe it myself that I'm co-hosting and helping to co-produce this incredible event, this incredible summit. So don't question if you can do something. Just step up and start seeing what you can do. Don't talk about what you can't do anymore. Just see what you can do.
Definitely. So let's bring in our next guest.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love this beautiful woman. I was so inspired by her. She is Reverend Sylvia Sumpter, and she is an ordained Unity minister for 33 years. She currently serves as the senior minister of Unity for the Washington, D.C., in our national capital, and she is the founder of Stand Up for Humanity and the importance of global unity now. And I love that, Sylvia. Can you tell us, how can we start to talk about how we can have global unity now? How can we experience global unity now? We're so excited and grateful for you to be here, Reverend Sylvia. I was so touched by your live stream. You are such an inspiration to our planet, so thank you.
Thank you so much. And Rick, for having me on the program. And
You've got yourself muted.
Oh, I think I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me. And thank you to my wonderful colleagues, all of you, for Tarek and Steve and Rick and yourself, Karen. This is such an important time. This is what I'm calling, it's sort of the great awakening that is happening across the planet. And so many people, ordinary people, are waking up to this new dynamic that is happening in front of our faces, and we're all in the midst of it. And I've been so moved because the choice can be to feel a sense of disconnection or despair or depression or confusion about what is taking place on the planet, not just in our country, but across the globe. And we're seeing systems and institutions and things that have been set up for many, many years sort of crumbling before our eyes. And we're seeing sort of man's inhumanity to man on the rise. But what's really happening is that things are falling away so that the birthing of a new order of being connected can present itself. And that's what's happening. So I'm excited to be on the planet at this time with so many other wonderful people doing work from various points of view, whether it's like Tarek creating a film or doing what Steve is doing, Humanities Team. It's all about so many people across the globe recognizing that we're all citizens of the world and that we are connected, whether we are aware of it or not, that we are part of this great, what I call the matrix of life of humanity. And so, you know, anytime change happens, it can look a little chaotic, but it is just the forces of life coming together, mixing things up so that something new can present itself. And I was moved because I've been serving as a unity minister for 33 years, and I'm here in the nation's capital. And I believe that it's no mistake that I take my church's being at the center or the hub symbolically of Washington, D.C. has great impact. And I wanted to do something where we could take advantage of drawing people to the nation's capital so that the world could see that there are so many good people on the planet who are willing to stand with one another, to stand by one another, and to stand up for one another, because we are one citizen of the world, one people on the planet. You know, if we were to look at ourselves from outer space, we would see our oneness just like that. So this whole movement is about promoting a world that works for everybody. That, as Tarek said, we can honor our differences, but the thing that holds us together really is our commonality. That we are a species on the planet along with other species. And that when we recognize our oneness as opposed to our separateness, then we can learn how to be and to coexist with each other, because we have no other choice. We have no other choice. So for me, being a unity minister, it's a spiritual community that has always promoted unity, hence our name, but unity between people, unity within our individual selves, and unity within the collective. And I think where we are now is that the collective is coming to the forefront. That as individuals, we have started our journey to take care of ourselves, to live a good life, to be happy, to be successful. But we've reached a point in our evolution as a species where we must move into the collective, to the we consciousness, as you say, we the world, because the world has gotten smaller, not larger, but smaller. And with all the technology, we are in one another's homes, we are exposed to one another's cultures. And so we're getting to see that, gee, we really are connected on a deeper level, and that we must find a place for acceptance and understanding. That's why I love the film, Tarek, A Free Trip to Egypt, because we have to move into the recognition that we're all doing the same thing, but yet in different ways. And one of the things that I'm excited about, and what I was trying to do with Stand Up for Humanity, was to create a global shift in consciousness, one from separation to connection, that we have to begin to change the narrative of my culture, my world, my this, my that, because the tribe and the clan has gotten smaller. The tribe is now the world. And we have to create a new paradigm that says, wow, I really belong to my brother, my sister. We really are inhabiting the same beautiful space on this planet. We really are one people. And there are universal principles, I think. Universal principles, universal states of being that everybody ascribes to. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants peace. Everybody wants to have their physical needs met so that they can live physically healthy and happy. But when we focus on what is it that creates humanity, it's our oneness, because everyone is doing and wanting the same thing. How we go about it, we can learn to do it in a way that honors and respects all life, all people, all beings on the planet. And I think we're moving towards that. So Stand Up for Humanity was born out of a need to help support and create a world that works for all. But I wanted people to really understand that everybody has something to contribute, that every life is valuable. Because if you're born and you're on the planet at this time, you're here by divine appointment, and you have some sacred mission and intention. You have what I call a sacred signature that is yours to share with the world. And sometimes people think, well, who am I to do something? You know, I'm just a person who lives in Brooklyn, or I'm just a small person who's a goat herder, you know, in Afghanistan. But everybody is here to contribute something to the upliftment of humanity.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
call that the big lie, Sylvia. I call that the big lie. And I tell people all the time, if you're saying that you can't make a difference, then you're wrong, because every person on the planet has the opportunity. We all have the opportunity. And Dr. David Hawkins did a beautiful book called Power versus Force. And that was how I got started with live stream altogether, because one person who's vibrating with love in their heart, with peace on their mind and kindness in their actions, counterbalances 750,000 people who are in that low vibration of fear and shame and bigotry. And that's just like what you're talking about, the universal principles. Because when we live by those principles, we actually open the door to the unity consciousness. I really believe that.
Oh, I'm with you. You said something very important. I go to India a lot. And one of the things that I learned in one of my travels there, because I'm working on just my own inner self so that I can raise my own vibration. And what we were talking about is that one individual has the power to affect 700,000. So, and we come across people all the time. So if I'm vibrating at a high level, that vibration raises a lower vibration. It's just the law. It's the way things work. So yes, if I'm in that consciousness of peace and love and harmony, and making sure that I am expressing at the highest level of my ability, that those then who come into my consciousness, come into my little world, are affected. So one person does make a difference. And that's what this is about. And we can all do it in a variety of ways, whether we're making films, whether we're having an organization, whether we're having an event in the nation's capital. All of it matters, and all of it adds to the evolution, to the raising of vibration. Now, I will say this. I think we all of us who are doing this work, whether we call ourselves light workers or whatever it is, that we also have the ability to help others to step into this new vibration that is upon the planet. Because I always said, do you know what happens when 150 watts worth of energy moves into a 15-watt bulb. Pow! So we're about raising the spiritual wattage of every soul so that we can take in this vibration that is being gifted to humanity at this time. And that as we each individually raise our own wattage, we make it easier for others to also lift themselves up. And so I'm seeing this as a beautiful time on the planet. And I'm so glad to be working with other souls and to, again, making the connections with other organizations and people who are doing this work, because this is why we have come. This is our time. This is our moment. And it's an exciting place to be.
And this is a perfect time, too, to invite our next guest in, Rick, because he is such a bright light, and talk about wattage. I mean, what an amazing, beautiful light that has come into our beautiful world. Rick, can you tell us a little bit about Steve Farrell of the team?
Right. So Steve Farrell leads Humanities Team, a nonprofit organization based in Boulder, Colorado, which he founded with Neil Donald Walsh, the best-selling author of the Conversations with God series of books. The organization is focused on helping people throughout the world awaken to their deeper self and the interconnectedness of everything in the universe. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Telesummit, Steve Farrell.
Thank you, Rick and Karen. And let me share, it's just a real pleasure and privilege to be here, also with Tarek and Sylvia and Ben, who's on video, and yourselves for this really important program. It's important that we talk about unity and listening to each other and listening within.
Exactly.
Very important topics.
Yep. And I'm happy that you're joining us because, Humanities Team and We the World have collaborated on 11 Days of Global Unity and Global Oneness Day, which is Humanity Team's project for many years. And I'm excited that I will be hosting a panel on media and society during the Global Oneness Day Summit coming up in October. So Steve, please let people know about the mission of Humanities Team, Global Oneness Day, and please bring up, you can also bring in your work with conscious business as well. And also, what actions do you recommend that people take to help make this shift in our culture toward social cohesion and unity?
Well, thank you. So yeah, I have a lot of ground to cover there. Let me do my best. Let me share, for starters, my background is I'm actually a technology entrepreneur. So, and I came into this work just as a practitioner, where much like Tarek's story, where I was looking out on the world, in my case from Silicon Valley, at all of the riches that we were producing from Silicon Valley. I was one of the blessed ones where I started a couple of companies that grew quite large very rapidly. And I was a CEO of these companies. And I went through my own awakening experience in the 1990s, and I lost my passion for business. I realized that at the end of my life, with what's going on in the earth now, how was I going to feel about myself if I continued to be a serial technology entrepreneur, growing companies? And they were very progressive. We were adopting high schools and doing open book management, a lot of really cool stuff, and giving a lot of the wealth to the employees. But with what's going on in the earth today, how would I feel at the end of my life if that's what I was doing now in today's world? This was 20 years ago. And of course, it's even more challenging today with this whole Darwinian style world where we believe we're separate. As Sylvia shares, Reverend Sylvia shares, if we do a little homework, a little research on our own, and look at sacred text, theistic and non-theistic. I mean, look at even in the theistic world, of course, in the Bible and all of these sacred texts, oneness is quite prominent. But also in the Buddhist world, that oneness is the backdrop to all of life, that this whole connection between all of life is so important. And what happened, I think, is back in the 1600s and 1700s, when Sir Isaac Newton came along, there were others too, but he was one of the very influential scientists that came up with this Newtonian physics or Newtonian mechanics, where he talked about the separation between matter, what we can see with our eyes, and the invisible. That these were two completely different worlds, and what was invisible needed to belong to religion and spirituality, and what was visible as matter belonged to Newtonian physics. And in today's world, we're still living as though that's true, by and large. There are many of us, probably viewers on this program, all of us on this panel who are not, but by and large, we're living as though ultimate reality is Newtonian, as though we're separate. So that we're separate from each other, we're separate from the earth and Gaia, we're separate from the divine. Even though, again, in sacred text, it says that the divine is omnipresent, right? We've all heard that so many times. We're made in the likeness and image of the divine. We have our being in the divine, etc. But it's interesting that we've held on to this notion of separation, this Newtonian thing, when many, I'm going to say modern scientists, but Erwin Schrödinger, for gosh sakes, he won the Nobel Prize winner for physics in 1933, so a long time ago. And his famous quote was, quantum physics thus reveals a basic oneness of the universe. And of course, today with Nassim Haramein and Bruce Lipton and all of the people in the quantum physics world, but also biologists like Bruce Lipton, geologists like Greg Braden, Lynn McTaggart, many others, too many scientists to name, as we know, have made it their work just as scientists to talk about how everything is deeply entangled. Everything is deeply interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent, that actually everything is energy. So bridge and science and spirituality and religion and even the non-theistic world, there's this beautiful bridge that now has been built between these worlds where quantum science is talking about the smallest scale objects, subatomic level objects, and spirituality and religion, they're all coming together beautifully. They are saying exactly the same thing, that we are all deeply interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent, that we're actually, we can, another way of saying it is we're an emanation of one thing, there's one energy. And that goes by many names. This doesn't have to go in the direction of just one faith tradition, and Tarek talked with great passion about that. It's very inclusive, actually. So as a Buddhist, as a Jew, as a Muslim, as an atheist, my aunt's an atheist, lives right here near me in Boulder, as a Christian, as a Mormon, they all, this container here of science and spirituality is a container for all of it. It's not, it doesn't go in just one direction with one dogma, where there's one path and we're left out. In fact, what science and spirituality are saying is just the opposite, actually, that everybody's in, nobody's left out. We're all, and as Sylvia mentioned, we're all beautiful individuations of the one. We were actually born at this sacred time to do this sacred work. And the most important thing, and Sylvia was getting at this, talking in the first person about her own life, is living into this ourselves. And yes, hosting programs and Global Oneness Day is a huge program. It's actually our 10th year celebrating Global Oneness Day. I invite you to go to globalonenesssummit.org to check it out. It's out in October. And other things, we do transformational education, things from humanities team. But the most important thing is to live this ourselves, to embody what this oneness is. And I love Tarek's pledge to listen, which I'm going to go read. And part of this, where we embody this ourselves, part of what that is listening within. So as part of this listening exercise, for sure, listening to each other. There's diversity and unity. We all have incredible contributions. And it's the fun of life anyways, it's listening, it's relational, it's being together, it's seeing the sacred, it's in each other, right? So it's so important that we listen to each other, but also that we create that quiet time to go within, to listen deeply within. And through prayer, or meditation, or walking in nature, or journaling, artistic and work, gardening, there's so many ways that we can go within, listen deeply within. Because what this ancient wisdom shares is that if we don't go within, we go without. So, and Ken Wilber's work, if you follow him, and says that there's way too much focus, right, on the whole material world. That right side of the AQAL quadrant, which is the visible world, the material world, is where we're putting most of our attention in this Newtonian world, the mechanics world, where we see ourselves as separate. And the whole left side of this quadrants, which are the interior world, are being largely ignored. Again, probably not by this group, but by many, where we're not realizing that if we don't go within, we go without. And that's what creates all this massive dysfunction out in the world, where we're acting as though we're separate, even though we believe ultimate reality is that we're not separate at all. And we're not taking the time to go within, and then where we go within and engage in what I'll call these spiritual practices, then it deeply informs our being. Our inner being state dramatically changes. I mentioned I'm a technology entrepreneur by background. I was an EFTJ in the Myers-Briggs, which is the CEO type in your head type individual. When I took the exam in the 1990s, I was ENTJ, so which is where you're coming from the mind. I'm not an ENTJ anymore. So from my within experiences, I feel deeply into the one, which we call the divine in humanities team, but we're inclusive. So we also call it's love, it's life, it's cosmos, it's Jesus, it's Mohammed, it's Joseph Smith, it's Moses, right? Doesn't matter. What matters is that we're honoring that diversity and unity. So we're inclusive. So we're listening to each other, like what Tarek said. We're not coming in with a dogma that just leaves people out and says, well, it's my way is the only way. And there's one path to the mountaintop. Because where we're coming in with that dogma, we're leaving most people out. And what oneness says, right, if you've studied oneness, probably a lot of this viewing audience has, well, oneness says we're actually all an emanation of that one thing. So all of these, Moses, Muhammad, Jesus, Abraham, Buddha, they're all a part of the one, right? So they were all messengers and prophets. How could they not be? They're all a part of the one. So we're honoring all of them, and we're honoring each other, and that's the whole point. And that's the beautiful thing about this inner world, where our being state changes, and where it's not just our vocal cords that are doing the work. People can feel the message in our work. And so we can touch people wherever we go, at home and at work, anywhere we go. And people can feel that one's presence, which goes by many names. And the theme here is activism. And Rick says, bring in activism, which is what everybody's doing here on the panel. And so the number one thing, let's really live it. Each of us in our own way. We're going to contribute in very different ways. People are going to feel very different energies where we live it in our own way. Some of us are going to go make a movie, like Tarek. Some are going to be big, important unity ministers, like Sylvia, or Ben, who's started a movement out there. Rick, who also has his own movement. Karen, who's starting a lot of movements, right? So we just honor our calling. That's the part of the going within. We'll be guided to what is ours to do. Also, and we don't have time to get into all of this here now, but there are miracles that happen where we do this, where we're here purely in service, and there's no small agendas. We're not trying to aggrandize ourselves or anything. We're here for this big mission of awakening, planetary awakening, living into the unity of all of life, where we come into service that way, and where we say to the one, I'm in service to you. Life is already in service to us. That's why we have free will and things. Once we say, I'm in service to you, then the tornado thing happens, all the magic happens, where we go and touch a lot of people, and not without challenges, because I know Rick's challenges. We shared them a few months ago. He knows my challenges. They're great challenges, but we never get turned over on our back. We keep going, and we touch lots and lots of lives through our work. So, and now Global Oneness Day, Rick asked about, so if you go to globalonenesssummit.org, you'll see it's our 10th anniversary year. Rick is leading a panel, Karen's leading a panel, and I think Sylvia is on a panel, and I'm just meeting Tarek. So check it out. You'll see more of these speakers and others that are really awesome. Michael Beckwith and Gene Houston and Neil Donald Walsh and a lot of others like ourselves that aren't as well known. I'll call them diamonds, that make huge contributions. Maybe you haven't heard their name, but they're doing big things out in the world, all part of this year's Global Oneness Day program. That's October 19 to 24. And then on our humanitiesteam.org website, you can read about conscious business initiatives, where we're taking the same work, okay, what we're talking about here on this panel, we're bringing it in to create a culture of a business or organization that is in unity. So the decisions and the collaboration and the decision making is in unity. Because when it's in unity, then we can't create GMOs, we can't do certain kinds of animal farming, we can't do certain kinds of fishing, we can't do a lot of things because it's not honoring the sacred in life. So whereas when the culture is this, people are collaborating this way, people are making decisions this way, it's all healthy stuff, because the questions we first ask are, how does this nurture my community? How will this nurture my state, my country, the world? If we can't answer those questions, well, we don't have any business talking about making some product or service, because why are we doing this anyway? The whole point of life, including business, which is my background, business, is to nurture our homes, our community, our countries in the world.
Thank you, Steve. That's so fabulous. And let's bring in our next guest, who's going to be on video. So I'm going to share this video of our conversation with Ben Bowler, so we can hear what's going on with Ben and Unity Earth. Ben Bowler is the executive director of Unity Earth, a global network that is building a worldwide movement for unity and peace at unity.earth. I'm going to share the video. And here we go. And Ben, I want to again express gratitude to you and Unity Earth for all the many collaborations with We the World over the last 2 years or so, and in particular for acknowledging the legacy of 11 Days of Global Unity with the Keeper of the Flame Award presented to me by Unity Earth earlier this year. It couldn't be more timely, since this year is the 15th anniversary of 11 Days. Thank you and welcome to this panel on Unity for the 11 Days of Global Unity Telesummit. Ben Bowler.
What a wonderful introduction, Rick. Thank you so much. It's really a privilege to be on this Telesummit, 11 Days of Global Unity. I've been such a big fan for a long time. And let me start by saying congratulations. 15 years is a long time to be pushing the barrow forward on this incredibly important work. So, it was our real privilege to acknowledge the pioneering work that you've done, and everyone, the whole team, incredible team, including Karen and many others at We the World. And it's an honor for me personally to be on this panel with Tarek, the amazing work with Free Trip to Egypt, and just to see how that's been taken off, and with Reverend Sylvia Sumpter, who's doing amazing work with Stand Up for Humanity, and of course, a dear friend, Steve Farrell from Humanities Team, who's just doing so much as well, Global Oneness Day and so many other initiatives. So an honor for me to be with you, and just very, very grateful of everything that you've put forward, Rick, and to create this space for all of us.
Well, thank you so much, Ben. So could you tell us about Unity Earth? Give us some highlights of what you have accomplished, the trajectory you are on, and some of your exciting plans with the road to 2020 coming up over the next year. And of course, We the World is right with you on that, with the road to 2020 and the Caravan of Unity coming up. So please give us that whole map of what's been happening and what the vision is.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Unity Earth is an idea whose time has come. And it's been building for such a long time through the efforts of so many people. It emerged a couple of years ago in a space that was very much a we space, which of course you'll appreciate. And through the legacy and heritage of pioneers like Dr. Kurt Johnson and the Interspiritual Network, Reverend Deborah Moldo, with decades of experience in interfaith, Yanni Maniatis, with many years working in different mystical traditions, and how they come together through consciousness explorations, people like Jeff Vanderkluge, and many others. And so Unity Earth emerged out of this collective space of what wants to be born in our time. And the idea of all the different elements coming together in glorious diversity and in a convergence, rather than sort of melting into just a nebulous one, but coming together all these different strands to create a beautiful tapestry. And so that's been quite a journey. It's been a journey of discovery and awe and wonder to witness the rise of Unity Earth. We've done events all over the world now, and in some ways we started with the return of Bungo Man here in Australia, which is 45,000-year-old fully modern human ancestor. And Unity Earth's role in that was really to convene the commemoration and the dance and the bringing Aboriginal groups from around Australia, and music and celebration and a spiritual acknowledgement of the oldest living culture on Earth. And that was our beginning of the road to 2020, Rick, which you mentioned. And then to bring that fire and that spirit to Ethiopia and Africa in UDay 2018, and from the sacred sites of Lalibela, with the whole host of spiritual leaders and religious leaders and musicians and artists representing vast portion of humanity, Buddhist monks from Thailand, Sufi saints from India, artists and musicians from America, Aboriginals from Australia, rabbis and Christians from Europe, all people from Africa. It was really all this coming together in World Interfaith Harmony Week, and down into Bob Marley's birthday, where we did a benefit concert in Shashamane for the Rastafarian community. So many different elements coming together, and that fire, which we call the coming together of the lighting the global fire of one love, and then bringing that flame in our hearts to other parts of the world, to Toronto Convergence before the Parliament of World's Religions, to New York in February this year, which is when we honoured you, Rick, as a Unity Earth champion at the United Palace, again during Interfaith Harmony Week, with the Unity Earth liftoff, the New York Convergence, visits to Aboriginal, Indigenous communities there, the wonderful Ramapo Lenape people, and again, building the fire, building the momentum, building the energy around how we show up together, how we come together in a spirit of celebration, and yet with the fierceness that the love that we carry and represent in our hearts is a fire that cannot be quenched. And that is a fire whose time is here to really spread and spark from heart to heart and soul to soul and mind to mind, to really engulf the world. And it's a fire that's been coming forever. It's not new with Unity Earth. It's built upon decades of the work that you've done, and centuries of mystics before that, and thousands of years of prophets and indigenous wisdom holders. And it goes back to the very dawn of time. And so this fire whose time has come is what we're really lighting with the road to 2020 around the planet. We're going to sacred sites and special places, powerful, symbolic areas of the earth. So in November, in a month or two, we're going to be in Varanasi in India with the Varanasi Convergence with our dear global partners at the United Religions Initiative, with musicians like Parthe Banton and Christian Hoffman. And we're going to be celebrating the mystical poet Kabir. And Kabir is a very important figure in India because he unites Hindus and Muslims, which is a very important thing to be doing right now in the global context and in the context of what's happening in South Asia. And then from that fire of celebration of one love, we take that to the Holy Land, back in Interfaith Harmony Week, first week of February. You can go to uday2020.com and have a look what we're going to be doing there for those 7 days, from Jordan to Palestine, down into Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Haifa, music, celebration, ceremony, all raising awareness of the ecological peril that the Jordan River is in, working with our close partners at Echo Peace Middle East and with the United Religions Initiative. We're super excited about that because, of course, we all know what an important part of the world is. And if there's any region in the world that needs the global fire of one love to come and really light things up, it's the Holy Land, you know. And there's going to be some really powerful ceremonies and important things that take place there. And then from there, we're then coming to the United States. And September 2020, well, actually in late August, we start in San Francisco with a Grace Cathedral in San Francisco and a whole sort of liturgical beginning. And from there, we roll across the continent with major events playing in Colorado, throughout the Midwest in Chicago, and then finishing in New York on the International Day of Peace. And the last 11 days of that will be coinciding with the 11 Days of Unity next year. So very, very exciting times. I mean, the one last thing I will say is that date around the International Day of Peace next year, 21st of September 2020, it's a date that's been marked in people's psyches for a long time. So many transformational leaders have been zeroing in on that. It's amazing how many people feel that something big is coming to be born, this time next year. So it's all aboard, all in. Let's go. Everyone's invited. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's doing it in their own way. And it's really about bringing that together and showing up on the world stage with historic force, unprecedented unity, and an unstoppable movement of movements that's just in time to really turn this planet around and go to the next level of our evolution and the beginnings of the next age where love and consciousness and wisdom and truth and beauty are our guiding principles. You're on mute, Rick.
You're right. Thanks. Yes, that's so beautiful. And thank you. Karen, you have any thoughts here?
You know, I just was so inspired by everything that you just said, Ben, that it made me question, like, what can we do together that we can't do on our own? You know, it just makes us really think about, you know, when we come together in this unity consciousness, what kind of amazing things do you see for us coming up?
You know, I think that's, I think the most profound answer to that, Karen, is we get to experience the mystery. I think that really what's coming is beyond our ability to really forecast. And in the experience of when we lay down our barriers, when we stop separating, when we drop that which keeps us separate from others, whatever that may be, and we come together with a shared spirit of alignment and togetherness, then what's possible is limitless. It's limitless. It's beyond our imagination. So I think we're in for an incredible ride. We've experienced it in little ways when it happens, the magic, the spontaneity, the synchronicity, the sheer joy of creation coming through as the medicine for what we are all experiencing as the troubles and sufferings on our world. And it is so beautiful, and it is so inclusive, and it is so transcendent and uplifting that it's almost, you need to be a musician or a poet, I think, to be able to answer that question properly, as what we can do together that we can't do alone. It's beyond our order of understanding. And the dance that we can achieve in unison together is going to be something that takes us all on an incredible ride. So, look, I think it's going to be something we will find out, Karen, by doing it.
I love that. That is so exciting. And I'd love to hear what our other panelists think about what Ben just said.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I was thinking that we can open this up, this discussion, with the rest of the panel. And maybe you could help start us off, Ben, in a sense, on the importance of global unity at this time and making that shift towards we consciousness in society, so the health and well-being of all is valued and prioritized. You know, why would you say this is crucial now in the world, especially given the multiple challenges humanity is facing? So why don't you give us your take on that, Ben, and then we'll open this up for discussion with the rest of the panel. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Rick. And I'm very essentially an optimist. I'm born that way. It's my natural inclination. But the stark reality is, if we don't come together and create unity, we ain't going to make it. That's what everybody's saying, from the scientists to all different sorts of people around the world. It's not just the ecology. The whole world is splintering. The world is on fire. The world is tearing itself to bits. And that shows up in our climate crisis, but it also shows up in dozens and dozens of other ways as well. It's an existential moment, Rick. We either come together or we fall apart. And now is that time. No one group, no one organization, no one religion, no one nation, nobody can make it on their own. The only way, and some people have seen in this crisis our greatest opportunity. Because until we're ready to lay down our own egos, our institutional egos, our national egos, our religious institutional egos, and personal as well, until we're ready to lay them down and really come together in service of humanity and in service to the whole, we are not going to be able to make the transition from where we are to where we need to be. And because that's such a difficult thing to do, to lay down one's egos, one's national one's attachment to national identities and other identities, religious identities, cultural identities. It's not easy to do it. So maybe we need multiple existential crises at the same time in order for us to be motivated enough to do this coming together, to drive us to create that force of attraction strong enough so that we do it. So the impetus is there, the urgency is there, the motivation is there, and now it's up to us to facilitate it. And to ensure this birth comes out whole, healthy, and well, and stable. And so I see tremendous opportunity. I see tremendous new growths coming of things that are being born all over the world. And this is what you're showcasing here today, is a great example of that new emerging reality. But it's come together or fall apart. That's our choice.
Exactly. That reminds me of when we launched Interdependence Day. Back, it was over a decade ago. The slogan was coexistence or no existence.
Well, yeah, pretty much. That's right. And just the last thing again, there's no one group, there's no one message, there's no one even spiritual inspiration or religious lineage that's going to be able to pull us off. I mean, it's going to take every one of us right across the spectrum, from the spiritual to the secular. It's going to take all of us showing up, collaborating, working across lines which used to divide us, working across lines that we used to see as opposites or enemies. We need to heal all of it, from the indigenous to the settlers, from the north to the south, from the east to the west. We have to heal all of it. And that's the work. It's a great opportunity for us to do something which has never happened before.
Well, thank you, Ben Bowler and Unity Earth. Now let's put that same question to our other panelists as well. Okay.
Well, I'll just jump in. Are you going to call on us, or can we just jump in?
Jump right in.
I'll jump in. First of all, I loved what you said, Ben. I think he put it together in a nutshell. And I just gave a talk last Sunday on the power of chaos and crisis, because I think that both of those bring us to the point where when you have chaos, order must come. It shows us where we want to put things into order, or where divine order is seeking to take place. And the same thing with crisis. When we're in a moment of crisis, that is the moment that moves us to action. And so those two concepts, when he said the world is on fire, it's true. And we see it as chaos and we see it as crisis, but the power is, it's that point, that crucial point of of change when we're being ushered into something new. We're being moved unconsciously, but now we must do it consciously. So the chaos, it's the urgency of the time. And I think we will come together, because one of the things that I know about humanity is we have always risen to the highest in us. If it's a catastrophe, that's when we see the greatest humanity. We come together. And so this is a great time, and it's the time that must take place. And I believe it's our next evolutionary step, and we're moving into it. We're stepping into it. So it's just an exciting time.
Yeah, and I'd like to also add, because I think there's always, you know, the spiritual view of unity and connecting with our hearts, and some people can feel that quite clearly. But I think many of us don't, right? But I think what we all do see now, I think it's very clear that our happiness is connected to other people's happiness. I mean, there's no way of getting around that now. I think, you know, if you ignore a war of your neighbors, pretty soon you're going to have a refugee crisis. If people are polluting next to you, you're going to have a problem. We've seen so many examples of the world economy. If one country goes into an economic crisis, you know, America goes into an economic crisis. So I think it's really just a pragmatic situation now that we all are connected. So it just makes logical sense for those who might not feel the complete idealistic spiritual views, but it just makes pragmatic sense that we just take a common step of solving the problems together.
And I'll jump in here. Yeah, amen to what you both shared here, Tarek and Reverend Sylvia and Brother Ben. Yeah, right on target. You know, time to come together. You know, the late Barbara Marx Hubbard shared. She passed away, I think most of us know, in April of this year, that our crisis is a birth. And she said that actually, you know, that's the way life works. Even in our individual lives, we run into crisis because. And then our life is trying to tell us something. Go do make a movie, Tarek, you know, or something. A crisis is a birth always, and collectively it's true. So, and clearly we're in crisis now, an existential crisis here on the earth. But it's the birth of something, yes. And just exactly what you're putting your fingers on here. It's a birth of interdependence, Rick, as you share. And interdependence is what Tarek's talking about, where our happiness comes from other people's happiness. It's this whole birth of a larger self from a smaller self, where the astronauts are looking down on the Earth and they see oneness and would probably describe this in a different way than we are. But they can see that in a sense, we're all kind of a red blood cell, you know, in the body of humanity or the Earth. And healthy red blood cells carry oxygen around to the rest of the body, right? It's creating happiness for these other cells in a happy and healthy body. And it's time. And this whole presentation of Ben's is 2020. Let's make this an intersection of opportunity where we come together, where we see that we're interdependent, where we do this together, where we further this birth that's already begun. And I say amen to all of that, and I believe it's happening. I believe all of what we're talking about is already happening, and the media in the United States is not giving a lot of focus to it because what bleeds leads, as we know, unfortunately. But if we look deeper, there's a lot of really good things going on, like the movie that Tarek created, which I haven't yet seen myself, but I've sure heard a lot about. And it's and other media and activism that's just promoting interdependence, promoting oneness, promoting a flourishing Earth that goes beyond sustainability to a flourishing planet, which I believe we can and will create.
And what I find also an important thing, because you're saying, you know, there's all these good things happening, is that I think in the last, I don't remember when the UN millennial goals were created, but I think it's the first time that we as a world came together to reduce poverty, increase education, and all these things. And that's a beautiful thing that we all came together as a world to tackle all these problems. And what's even more beautiful is that things have been improving across the board, right? And what's really interesting, the places where it hasn't improved, the countries where it hasn't improved, are only the places where there's war. So it's really quite simple. Let's eliminate war.
Exactly. And I love that, Steve, the quote from Barbara Marx Hubbard about crisis giving birth to, I guess, a solution in a sense, right? So in a sense, that's the story of We the World. I attended a lecture given by the son of Louis Leakey, who was a well-known paleontologist who had found a really ancient fossil of a human named Lucy, and his son Richard Leakey, and this is in the late 1990s, had written a book about the sixth mass extinction of species, and he said at that point that we only had a window of about 20 to 30 years before the extinction, the mass extinction of species would become irreversible, and we would see cascading collapses of the food chain. Now we're at that point now, and we heard, of course, from the International Panel on Climate Change that almost that same time frame is happening with the climate crisis, where by about 2030, if we don't take drastic action, then the climate crisis will become irreversible. So we have these two things. But anyway, the point is that hearing that lecture in 1997, it was one of the things that spurred me on to create We the World in 1998. And one of the people at that same event was Jane Goodall, and she was one of the first people that I approached about getting involved with We the World, and she has become a big supporter and part of it. So the question is, can we do it? Can we make this transition in the next 10 years? I mean, you know, it's horrible to have a time limit, but you know, time is running out. Can we do this?
I think we have to. I personally focus on 5 years, the next 5 years, because I'm 62, and so I'm like, we're going to do this now. That's my every morning part of my confirming prayer. We're doing this now in the next 5 years, so I think we're all, or many of us are using the term here, existential crisis. Well, existential crisis means that something is going to happen here. So. Our choice is regression or devolution, or it's conscious evolution, and conscious evolution is where it needs to go. And many of us are committed to it. I personally believe you didn't have all these incredible people that have come to this planet over millennia to do the amazing things they've done, like Jane Goodall is just one example. There are thousands of them. So that we'd fall off a cliff at this point in time. I don't believe that's going to happen. It doesn't make any sense. So no, we're going to climb to that higher ground together. We can do this, but that's why we're here right now talking to viewers, because we need to do it together. Karen was making the point earlier. You know, we all need to be activists. And Rick says, what are the things people can do now? That's where we need to put our attention to what can we do? You know, now where can our activism go today to support this?
Yeah.
I'd say definitely yes, we can do this. Absolutely. We go from me to we, and we use those 3 I's. We use information, and Rick, we
inspire, inform, and involve. And the 3 I's that make a we.
The 3 I's that make a we. So I say yes, we can absolutely do this. I believe with all my heart and soul that if enough people believed in kindness again, if you just believe in kindness, you'll start to open the door to global unity. So just start with that. Start by taking a challenge to yourself to just do one thing every day that's kind to somebody, to yourself, to somebody close to you in your family, somebody in your community, and make a challenge. Do it like a science experiment. That's how I did it. That's how I started Global Kindness going viral. I did it like a science experiment. And that's what I want everyone to think about as they're listening to this. Don't question, can I do something? Start asking yourself, what am I going to do?
Exactly. So as we wind up, maybe we can each give a way that people can get involved and take action, you know, through the vehicles that each of us has started. Tarek, would you like to start?
Well, we talked about it before, but if you go to freetriptoegypt.com, take the pledge to listen, sign up for a screening, spread the word.
Great. Reverend Sylvia.
Yes, similar to that, we're asking people to take a pledge to stand up for humanity in whatever way they can, so that they can add something positive. They can go to Unity of Washington, D.C. /stand up and make their pledge to share how they will stand up for humanity.
Is that Unity of Washington, D.C.org?
Yes, and then there's a / stand up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you got that exactly right.
Thank you.
Sure. And Steve?
Okay, a couple quick things. One is Google Global Oneness Day or go to globalonenesssummit.org and you'll see the program. It's free, and if you miss any of it or all of it, we send you links so you can view the whole program at your leisure. The program goes from October 19 to 24. Also, you can go to humanitiesteam.org, that's with a Y, humanitiesteam.org. And on the Humanities Team site, there's a oneness declaration. I invite you to read it. And if it resonates, sign it. There's a conscious business declaration. I invite you to read it. And if you resonate with it, sign it. And then you'll also see transformational education programs that just make all the things we're talking about here, I'll call it sticky, so we can embody the process of healing our trauma, of living in awe and wonder, and the science of self-empowerment, and a lot of other things. We're the one global nonprofit in this transformational education space, so we don't have any shareholders. Our programs are very affordable, and it's all about just getting reach and impact by helping people to live into the unity of all of life.
And Karen?
And people can find me at globalkindnesstv.org, and you can also follow me on all social media as Mindful Media Mom, and also Miss Kindness on all social media. And anytime that you need help with amplifying a message or something that you feel that you really want to share your voice globally, just reach out to me. You can email me directly at karenpalmer@wetheworld.org. And I will help you get in touch with all the platforms that can help share your message.
Exactly. That's fabulous. And of course, to see all of these folks represented and get involved with everyone and We the World as well, please go to we.net. And right on the homepage, you can sign up to join the We team. As a volunteer coordinator. You can also sign up your organization to participate in 11 Days of Global Unity, 11 campaigns to change the world, which go all year round. And you'll be listed on the partner directory. And the Global Unity calendar is a free public international calendar. It's a resource for socially conscious organizations and businesses around the world to post your announcements and upcoming events. And the calendar is synchronized with multiple organizations' calendars too. So when you post at our calendar, it shows up on multiple websites. So it's a very powerful resource for taking action. And you can find all of this at we.net. So thank you all for joining us on the 11 Days of Global Unity Telesummit. Should I do
So
my,
much, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the time and for all your wisdom that you're sharing and all your love and light that you keep shining every day. And thank you so much. Rick, can you tell us that beautiful quote that closes out the show?
okay. So our dear friend Jonathan Granoff, when we launched We.net and the We campaign some years ago, about 10 years ago, the last thing he said is, I hope we expand so much that there is no longer any them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hold that vision for our world, okay, everybody?
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.